Hello there, in this video we're going to build a file upload component for our design system, so let's go.
Okay, welcome back to the file. So let's dive in and let's add a new page. So let's click here, let's click on the plus, and we'll just label this as file upload. Okay, let's go in and let's steal one of the other pages. Let's use the navigation links for now, and let's lock that. Let's go back and let's paste that in. Right, let's just delete out what we don't need from this page. Okay, and let's update the headings and the descriptions on the page. Okay, there we go, the page is updated. So a file upload is a component that lets users select and upload files from their device with optional drag and drop support. Okay, so let's start by dragging out a test area on this left hand side here. Let's just put that in there and rename that to testing. Let's go into the research file and let's go into the wireframes and let's just grab a copy of what we have so far. Let's lock that and let's go back into the other file. Let's just Command V, paste that in, and let's take a look at what we've got for the wireframe. We have a label here, so upload any attachments. I think we have some kind of button here that's giving us the different file types. I'm sure we can improve on this. And then we have drag and drop. So this gray area is where you would drop the files into, or you can click on this link here, upload, and that would trigger the file browser on your device to open, and then you could select the relevant files. Okay, so we have this as a default state here, so I'm just going to leave some notes as I go along. That's probably going to be the default state, and let's just change that color just very quickly and make it bold. So that'll be a default state for the component. I'd quite like to know what the state would be for multiple files, how that would look. So there we go. So what the default state is going to look like, what it's going to look like when we've added multiple files. So maybe let's just drag and drop that down. Maybe once you've uploaded some files, it lists them here beneath. So maybe you've got a list of your files just beneath here, and maybe they could stack potentially as you upload them. Okay, that's just a rough idea. I just want to put this down while I'm thinking about the component and how it's going to work. We're definitely going to need to know what happens on an error state. So when we get an error, also, let me just drag this out a little bit further. Also what things look like when we have documents successfully upload. So how that's going to look on the component. So I think that's a good starting point. We've got some rough edge cases to deal with here. So we've got the default, the multiple file state, error, success. I'm sure there could be others, but let's use those as our foundation for now. Let's start by recreating this component and breaking it down layer by layer on how we want it structured. Okay, so let's start with the default component. So let's just have a look. Let's start with the outer container. So let's just draw out a frame. And let's just give it a fill. So we'll give it a neutral fill for the moment. Okay, there we go. So we'll use that neutral fill for now. Let's just inspect this. So I think we've got some rounded corners here, so let's adjust those to 16. Okay, so looking at what we have, let's just take this sentence as well. So I'm just going to update that text, and let me just apply some typography variables. Okay, so let's start with that. Let me just go to assets, let me go to buttons, and let me just drag a button in as well. I'm not sure we'll keep the background is one solid color. I feel like we should kind of use the stroke. So let me just go here. Let's add, we just add neutral 400 as a stroke. Let me get rid of the fill. I feel like it should be a dashed stroke line, and that would then signify it's an area that you can drop your files in. So let's just increase those dashes. Let's just go to, let's stick to 12 for now. Okay, let's update the button label. Okay, that should be fine. Let's just put these two elements in an auto layout. Let's just rename that to container for the moment. So that has our button and our text at the top. Let's make sure everything is aligned center. Okay, let's go into our actions. Let's go to feather icons and let's just type in upload. And let's just click to add that in. Let's just see what that looks like, adding an icon. Let's just go to the container, put that in. Let's just adjust and apply some spacing variables here. So I think we'll do 8 pixels between the different elements, and we'll just zero out the padding as well. Let's just rename this top layer to file upload, and let's press Shift A, and let's just double check and apply some spacing variables here for now. Okay, let's just duplicate this text layer, let's bring it to the bottom, and let's just change it from semi-bold to regular. So let's add a criterion here, so files must be, let's just do JPEG, PNG, or PDF. Let's just leave it at that for the moment. We can always add more later. Okay, that should be good. I'm also going to add in a line about maximum file size as well. So maximum 10 megabyte per file, up to 50 megabytes total. And that gives some feedback to the user on the size of the files that they can upload here. Now let's have a look. Let's just go back into the container, and I don't know, is 8 pixels a little bit too tight? Possibly. I'll expand it to 16 for now, and just checking, we've got 48 around it. Okay, that should be okay for now. Okay, so that can be our starting point. So that would be the default state. So drop files here or browse files. Files must be JPEG, PNG or PDF, maximum 10 megabyte per file, up to 50 megabytes total. Okay, let's option, click and drag, and let's just bring it down a level. So for this example, we want to show the multiple files that we've uploaded. Okay, so I'm just going to click in here, steal this text. Okay, let's just change how that's aligned, and let's just write item 1 for now here. Just double click on the edge just to shrink that down. Okay, so this should indicate how many files have been uploaded, and I guess if they're successfully uploaded, that would probably be useful to know. Let's go back into our feather icons, and let's see, let's get a checkbox. We put that in here. Later on we can add these icons into the relevant files, but just for now I want the flexibility of being able to experiment and see what works. Okay, so we've got a check. Let's see if we can find a trash icon as well. Okay, so we have our 2 icons here. Okay, so item 1 can be the file name, so I'll just put item1.jpg just so we know. I think beneath it would be useful to highlight the file size. So let's just do 8 megabytes. So what I might do for the file size is reduce the color just to 400, so visually you can see the difference between the file name and the file size. Okay, so let's Shift A on these 2, and let's just rename that to file details. Let's just Shift A again. Let's just drag that check mark into our file details section. Let's just Shift A again on there, file details. Let's just rename that to container. Let's just change the auto layout, so we'll change that to horizontal. Okay, let's just spread that text out a little better. Let's just set this to hug. Let me just go to the top level frame. So what is that? Let's have a look at the container. Let's set that to hug as well. And let's align left and center that. So we've got 8 pixels between. Let's just set those up in variables. Okay, let's just select these 2 elements. Let's put Shift A, and let's just put file uploaded. Okay, and let's just align these to our uploader just above. Okay, let's just add a bit of a line break in here. So let's just add a line. Okay, so we've got our line in there. Let me just add neutral. Let's just make it 600 for the moment. So I want that to sit just beneath this file here. So let's have a look. Okay, let's apply some spacing variables here. Let's just do 4 pixels to begin with. Let's zero these out. And let me just change the color of the line. Okay, so let's go here. Let's make it a little bit lighter. So go to 4, let's go to 2, let's go to 1. Okay, let's go even lighter. Let's go to 60. That could be good. Okay, so let's just click on this. Let's option click and drag, and let's just do it. So we've got, what's that, 16 pixels. Let's just do that a few times by just pressing Command D. Okay, so that is potentially what it's going to look like when you've uploaded multiple documents. So you can see the file name, you can see the file size, you can see here whether it's been successful in uploading or whether it's failed, so we can add some failed states. So let's just do that as well. So I guess that would then cover the error. So let's do the last one. Let's go back into feather icons and let's just take that one for now. I think we may already have this in our icons, but let's just steal it from there for now. Okay, let's go in, let's go to where the content is, let's move that. Okay, there we go. So that can give us an example of a failed file. So that should be good for our error state. What others do we have? Documents successfully uploaded. Well, we've got that here as well. So that's showing when the document's successfully uploaded. Now, I'm sure we can go in and apply, let's just see, let's just apply a color. So yeah, maybe we can use like our success colors here. Just use this as a quick test. And then the last one will be error. And I'm guessing because these are defaulted to black, these would be neutral. We'll apply 600 to them. Okay, and just looking at this, thinking of another state, let's do this last one here. I might change this icon up so if it was still loading. So let's go to feather icons again. Let's just steal this icon for loading. Let's copy it, delete it, and let's go into the container here, into the content. Let's move that there. Just quickly update the color as well because that's going to be neutral 6. And for now that can be a loading state that we can use. So we've got our success, we've got a fail, and we've got loading. One thing I should probably do here let's do for the error. So let's just do exceeds file size, limits. Let's just double click that and let's just give that an error because then that can be additional feedback on why the file failed. So if we need to give more of a descriptive explanation of what's going on, we can add that in there. Okay, I'm just going to select all of these and potentially I might just add 8 pixels instead just to give a bit more spacing. Now let's just spread those out again to 16 pixels. Okay, that's good. Feels like it's got a little bit more breathing room, so that'll be good. Okay, so we've got our 2 options that we've done so far. We've started off with our default state of what you would see for the file upload. And then once you've interacted with it, once you've browsed, once you've added files, you then get information about the files you've uploaded. So whether it's been successful, whether it's still loading, or whether you've had any errors with that particular file, and it can give you feedback. Okay, so now we've got some structure and hierarchy to this design. Let's change it into a component and let's add all these different elements to our page here in our design system. Okay, so let's continue on. One thing that has just come to mind is let me just option, click and drag and duplicate this out. Let me just organize this a little bit better. So let's drag this down, move that down there. Let's move this here and let's just grab some text. So this is going to be the default state. I think I'm fine with that. This is where we have added multiple files. We've shown an example of an error and we've also got successfully uploaded. So that I'm fine with. So what we don't have at the moment is a drag over state. See where you're dragging these files over this kind of zone, this drop zone where you can drop the file into it. We need some feedback here. So when you've got a file in this area, the component changes slightly. So let's just go in here. Let's just change, let's change the stroke. So first of all, let me just remind myself what focused is, because I think that would be a good one to use. And that's going to be, I'm sure it's neutral 900 from memory. Yeah. So let's go up here. Let's just adjust the border. So let's go into settings. Let's change from dash to solid. Let's go neutral. Let's do 900. Let's increase that to 2 pixels. And let's just delete that old button. So I wonder if we can just subtly change the background as well, just to suggest that there's some kind of change happening. Yeah, I think that's fine. I'll add like a neutral color to the background as well. I use neutral 20 for now. So when you drag the files in, you've got the background change. You also have the stroke change on the component as well. And that will highlight that the file that you're dragging into this area can be uploaded. Okay, let's start by bringing in the default. Let's Command C on that. Let's go into the page and let's find the container and Command V. Okay, that should be fine. I'm just going to adjust some of these. These are slightly different from our usual states, but I'm just going to add two. So we'll add default and we'll add drag over for now. Okay, let's rename this top level to default. Okay, so let's have a look at our layer. So I've just renamed this to default for now. So inside default we have a container. The container contains the upload icon. So we've got drop files here, or then we've got the browse button, browse for files. Then we've got information on the file types and the file sizes. Okay, so to begin, let's just Command C, copy this upload icon. Let's go to the style guide, let's go to our icons, and let's add this new icon in. So let's click here, Command V, and let's just double check our colors. So we're doing neutral 600, so let's update that. Make sure the vectors are flattened, that's one thing. So there we go, let's flatten those. Make sure they're set to scale, and let's make sure it's named correctly. So upload, that should be okay. So while we're here, I can see we've got the check icon, so that's fine, we can reuse that. Let me just jump back into the UI kit. There was another icon that we needed, which I think was loading. And actually, I think we need the trash can as well. So let me just copy this loader out. Let's go back into here. Let's paste it. Let's go back here, just double check I don't have the trash can, which I don't think I do. Command C, let's go back in here, let's Command V. Okay, let's do the same with these icons. So first of all, make sure the color's correct, which in both instances it is. Let's go inside the loader, let's go in here and let's right click and flatten. Ensure they're set to scale, which is good. Let's do the same here for the trash. Let's right click and flatten those. Okay, they're set to scale. Okay, so we've got upload, we've got loading, and we've got trash. Let's just select all of these. Let's go here, create multiple components. Let's just collapse the layers and lock them. Let's go to assets, let's go to libraries, and let's go to publish. And let's add some notes. Okay, let's click on publish. Okay, that's great. Those icons are ready to use across our other files. Okay, let's jump back to our UI kit. So let's close this down.
Okay, that's it for part 1 of the video. Part 2 will be next week. So like, subscribe, all of those things, and I will see you in the next video.
Can you take me higher? Higher, higher.